2024 was a year of victories for animals. Animal justice was there every step of the way. In the courts, Parliament,
Not answering your analogy precisely.
and the media.
Animals suffering least.
Let's enforce the laws that we have.
We launched a groundbreaking private prosecution against a Manitoba live horse exporter. Fought back against the egg industry for caging hens.
Canada's egg industry is trying to fool you.
Released undercover footage exposing shocking abuse in more industries than ever before. And in a monumental win for animals and free speech, we defeated Ontario's ag-gag law in court. After years of hard-fought litigation, Animal Justice won our case, challenging Ontario's ban on undercover farm investigations. This sends a strong message that ag-gag laws are unconstitutional.
We think that consumers ought to know what really goes into the products that they're purchasing.
Meanwhile, we're continuing our fight to kill the federal ag-gag bill.
We just testified at the Senate of Canada about Bill C-275.
And have helped the Senate see through the lies from the meat industry.
We have some of the weakest animal protection laws in the Western world.
In 2024, we made major strides toward ending the cruel export of live horses to Japan for slaughter. With our partners in Japan, we showed, contrary to the claims of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, that 21 horses died from these long flights in just a year, and proved that most shipments go over the 28-hour legal time limit.
But unfortunately, we are now learning that the horse's grueling journey isn't just long, it is also fatal.
We also laid a rare and unprecedented private charge against a Manitoba horse exporter who shipped horses for longer than the legal time limit. Bill C-355, which would ban the exports, is now moving through the Senate, and we're fighting every step of the way to make sure it becomes law. In a small step forward, Ontario passed the PUPS Act, which may be a first step in cracking down on unregulated puppy mills.
They do not require any licensing or registration, so puppy mills operate in the dark.
We'll keep pushing for even stronger measures. Last year, Animal Justice's investigation dragged pen dog hunting into the spotlight after Ontario decided to let new pens open.
Hunters to bring their dogs to search and
In 2024, we've continued to campaign to stop this horrific blood sport.
It's a sickening blood sport that the public doesn't support.
We've also been working with rescue groups in Manitoba to develop Indigenous-led solutions to the heartbreaking dog overpopulation crisis in remote First Nations communities. And of course, in 2024, we continued our fight for farmed animals. We're pushing back against the egg industry, where 83% of hens still live their entire lives inside miserable cages. Our undercover footage from dozens of egg farms exposed the cruel reality of so-called enriched battery cages.
Egg companies are trying to trick Canadian consumers into thinking that animal welfare has improved while continuing to keep chickens in cramped battery cages.
Following pressure, Loblaws finally began reporting cage-free sales percentages, and Tim Hortons released a roadmap to phase out cages by 2028. We've now turned the spotlight onto Burnbrae Farms, Canada's largest egg producer. We followed them from event to event, making sure the public knows Burnbrae refuses to go cage-free. We're determined to make Canada catch up with the rest of the world and ban cruel cages. In 2024, we work to help fishes who live miserable lives on fish farms. We released the world's first caviar farm investigation out of BC, uncovering uniquely horrific practices. and sharing the story of Gracie, a 7-foot sturgeon who has been stuck in a small tank as a breeder fish since 1999. Next, we release shocking footage from a self-described sustainable salmon farm in Nova Scotia.
There's no right way.
Okay. No wrong way?
This year, we poured over thousands of pages of government documents to piece together the CFIA's fumbled response to avian flu.
Documents obtained through an access to information request by advocacy group Animal Justice show CFIA's resources spread thin.
As they exterminated entire barns full of birds with grotesque killing methods, botched gassings, and obscene compensation payouts to factory farmers. We also fought Manitoba's attempts to hide details about the province's mink fur farms, and rallied the community to have a veal sandwich competition at Toronto's CNE cancelled. Animal Justice continued to challenge animal abuse for the sake of entertainment. We exposed terrified animals at a cruel bull riding event, called for charges after a competitor snapped a young cow's neck at the Calgary Stampede.
Snap to the ground is particularly appalling.
Confronted egregious industry propaganda at the Royal Agriculture Winter Fair.
Like a condo for chickens.
And following pressure from Animal Justice, we had a win. The Manitoba Stampede canceled their cruel mutton busting event. Last year, we won a groundbreaking ban on toxicity testing on animals. Now we're fighting to implement it.
Storage unit surrounded by boxes of what was once Canada's premier national hub for alternatives.
The Canadian Centre for Alternatives to Animal Methods was a key part of that phase-out, and we are working to help them secure federal funding to continue their important work. We'll always work to get animals out of zoos. We testified at the Senate in support of a groundbreaking bill to ban the captivity of elephants and great apes.
Focus needs to be on causing unnecessary suffering to animals.
We continued our efforts to save Boogie, a lonely little monkey who's been biting herself and pacing at Burvey Zoo 3 summers in a row. We're keeping authorities in the hot seat until they send her to a sanctuary. After decades of allegations and withdrawn charges, Marineland was finally convicted. We applied to intervene during sentencing to keep the spotlight on animal suffering.
In a sentencing hearing Thursday, the park was ordered to pay nearly $85,000 in fines and restitution.
We continued our battle in court against Big Plastic.
Today we're at the Federal Court of Appeal, where we intervened on a case about the federal government's ability to take action against the plastic pollution crisis.
And we exposed the dark world of reptile breeder expos, where lizards, snakes, and turtles are displayed and sold in plastic takeout containers. All of this progress relies on our community of animal lovers, and we're dedicated to keeping it strong and resilient. We hosted another inspiring Canadian Animal Law Conference, this time in a bigger venue with dozens of speakers and hundreds of attendees. And we continued creating empowered animal advocates through our Animal Justice Academy.
Welcome to our Animal Justice Academy Lunchtime Live.
This training program, Supportive Community, and Action Collective had a major impact in government, corporate supply chains, and the media.
The ability to tell these stories for animals.
Shining the spotlight on an industry that hates the light of day.
And of course, we couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for being the best supporters imaginable. With you by our side, we'll usher in a new world, where animals are seen as individuals rather than machines, as loving family members rather than property. Together, we'll build a more compassionate world for animals in 2025.